Schoolhouse Rocky, the chip off the block of your favorite Schoolhouse Rock.
Remember when a cartoon about grammar was the coolest thing on Saturday morning TV? When you knew every word to conjunction junction but forgot to study for your test? From 1973 to 1985, Schoolhouse Rock aired 64 episodes on ABC, 3-minute lessons disguised as cool jazz and animation. It wasn't boring classroom stuff, it was catchy, clever, and somehow made grammar, math, and the preamble stick in our brains for life. Today, we're counting down 15 weird and wonderful facts about Schoolhouse Rock. Now, before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hype the video. It helps YouTube show it to more fans of classic Saturday morning TV, so let's get into the countdown with number 15. It all started because a kid couldn't do math. In the early 70s, advertising executive David McCall noticed something funny about his son. The kid could sing every Rolling Stones lyric by heart but couldn't remember how to multiply 7 times 8 to save his life. So McCall had a light bulb moment. What if learning felt more like a song on the radio than a trip to detention? He brought in jazz musician Bob Dorough, a recording artist known for his witty lyrics and playful approach to rhythm. Dorough had once written a novelty album inspired by the ingredients labels on canned food, so clearly the man could make anything sound cool. Dorough turned math into music with a little tune called 3 is a Magic Number.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
It was so catchy that adults couldn't get it out of their heads. When illustrator Tom Yo at McCall's ad agency heard it, he sketched visuals to match. Suddenly, the idea wasn't just educational, it was entertainment.
It takes 3 legs to make a tripod or to make a table stand.
McCall and producer George Newell pitched the concept to ABC, where fate stepped in. Michael Eisner, a young exec under pressure to add educational content, liked it but wasn't completely sold. Then animation legend Chuck Jones, who just happened to be in the meeting, watched the pilot, turned to Eisner, and gave the simplest, most decisive review in TV history: buy it. According to Newell, it became the quickest deal in television history. Eisner immediately ordered the series and told the network to carve out a spot between cartoons.
It takes 3 wheels to make a vehicle called a tricycle.
On January 6, 1973, Multiplication Rock premiered and kids everywhere discovered that learning could actually groove. The success led to Grammar Rock, America Rock, and a pop culture phenomenon. Decades later, Eisner would say people mentioned Schoolhouse Rock to him more than Raiders of the Lost Ark or The Lion King, all because one kid preferred Mick Jagger to mathematics and the kid who created Bugs Bunny said yes.
In the family, that's a magic number.
Number 14, the name was inspired by Elvis. Before Schoolhouse Rock became a household name, it was almost called Scholastic Rock, which sounds less like a Saturday morning cartoon and more like a pop quiz you forgot to study for. The problem was that Scholastic Inc. already had dibs on the name, so the creators needed a new title fast. That's when someone remembered Elvis Presley's 1957 hit, Jailhouse Rock. The formula was perfect. Swap out jailhouse for schoolhouse, keep the rebellious vibe, and suddenly you've got a name that tells kids exactly what they're getting. Classroom lessons that don't feel like punishment. When Multiplication Rock premiered in 1973, the new name stuck. It was catchy, it made sense, and it didn't make kids think they were about to sit through a film strip about the Dewey Decimal System. Let's be real, Scholastic Rock would have tanked before the first commercial break. Number 13, the songs had to be 3 minutes. If Schoolhouse Rock always felt as tight as a pop single, that's because it literally was. Every segment had to be exactly 3 minutes long. This wasn't an artistic choice or a symbolic nod to 3 is a magic number, it was a network rule. ABC needed uniform 3-minute interstitials to fill the tiny gaps between Saturday morning cartoons, the same slots used for cereal commercials or station promos. The creators understood that constraint perfectly. They were ad people after all. They were used to saying a lot in a short time, so they wrote their lessons like commercial jingles for learning, catchy, rhythmic, and built to grab attention fast. That meant some sacrifices. Dorough's original version of 3 is a Magic Number ran longer and included the line, "A man and a woman had a little baby."
A man and a woman had a little baby. Yes, they did. They had 3.
It got the axe for time. Other songs like My Hero Zero and The Four-Legged Zoo had to lose verses or intros that later resurfaced on the album versions.
My hero zero, such a funny little hero.
Still, those time limits turned out to be a creative blessing. Every tune had to hook listeners instantly, teach something memorable, and rap before the next cartoon. The result was a masterclass in musical economy that turned what should have been filler into timeless pop culture gold. Number 12, every song had to pass a real school's approval first. Before Schoolhouse Rock could teach millions of kids, it had to pass one tough test: real educators at Bank Street College of Education in New York City. From the start, the creators wanted academic credibility. They didn't just want catchy tunes, they wanted proof that the songs actually worked. So when Bob Dorough finished 3 is a Magic Number, the team played it for real classrooms of kids. The results were undeniable. Students remembered both the tune and the math. That success convinced ABC that the series could be fun and educational.
4, 3,
3, 6, 9,
12,
12, 15, 18,
21.
21, 24, 27, 30.
From then on, Bank Street reviewed every script and lyric before it aired, ensuring the facts were solid even when the rhymes were playful. Their input became especially valuable during America Rock when topics like the Constitution and westward expansion needed extra care. That partnership gave Schoolhouse Rock its rare balance of entertainment and accuracy, and it's why so many of us still remember the lyrics better than the textbooks. Number 11, a Connecticut barn saved Saturday mornings. When Schoolhouse Rock ended its original run in 1985, nobody thought to preserve the magic. Literally. The animation cells, sheet music, and even the original 24-track master tapes vanished into the void of mid-80s network storage.
Oh, but it looks like I'm gonna live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
For years, fans thought the original recordings were gone forever. As fan nostalgia grew in the early 90s, ABC quietly began exploring a revival, and that search led to one wild discovery. The master audio reels turned up in a barn in Connecticut. No one's entirely sure who found them or how they got there, but there they were. Dusty boxes filled with the songs that taught an entire generation to count, vote, and punctuate. The rediscovered tapes made high-quality re-releases possible and fueled the show's return to TV in 1993. The key to reviving Schoolhouse Rock wasn't a new idea or a big budget, it was a barn in Connecticut and some very lucky timing. Number 10, Bob Dorough was a real jazz legend. Schoolhouse Rock made multiplication sound smoother than a Miles Davis riff, and you can thank Bob Dorough for that. Before teaching kids that 3 is a magic number, Dorough was already a respected jazz figure. In the 1950s, he played Paris clubs with the greats and recorded his 1956 debut album, Devil May Care, packed with sharp wit and clever chord changes.
I'm happy as I can be. I've learned to love and to live. Devil may care.
That mischievous spirit caught the attention of ad man David McCall years later. And then came Miles Davis. The notoriously selective trumpeter recorded 2 songs with Dorough in 1962, Blue Xmas, To Whom It May Concern, and Nothing Like You.
I hope you have a white one, but for me, it's blue.
Davis once called Dorough a didactic tyrant, which, coming from Miles, was basically a compliment. When McCall needed someone to make math swing, Dorough's mix of bebop brains and lyrical playfulness made him the perfect fit.
Lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. Lolly, 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 got some adverbs here.
His fingerprints were all over the series, from unexpected key changes to funky time signatures that made grammar sound like jazz. Even after Schoolhouse Rock made him beloved by millions of kids, Dorough never left the scene. He performed into his 90s, signed with Blue Note in his 70s, and often slipped Conjunction Junction into live sets, delighting audiences who knew every word.
Junction, junction, what's your function? Hooking up words and phrases.
He earned a Grammy nomination in 1974, and decades later, a National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Masters Award in 2019. The man who taught a generation their times tables also taught them that jazz can make anything swing, even a grammar lesson. Bob Dorough passed away on April 23rd of 2018 at the age of 94. Number 9, the Jazz Cats used their own kids as backup singers. It turns out Schoolhouse Rock didn't just teach kids, some of them actually helped make the music. In the early days of production, composer Bob Dorough and his fellow jazz musicians kept things close to home, literally. When it came time to record the backing vocals, they brought in their own children to sing the choruses. Dorough's daughter, Ahrens Dorough, was among them, along with the sons and daughters of other studio players. The result wasn't a polished studio choir. It was better. The kids' raw, untrained voices gave the songs a genuine classroom energy that perfectly matched the spirit of the show. You can hear it clearly on the four-legged zoo where Dorough's cool adult vocals bounce off the kids' enthusiastic responses. It sounds like learning in real time. It's messy, joyful, and alive.
We went to the four-legged zoo to visit our four-footed friends.
It wasn't a slick corporate production with endless budgets. It was a scrappy, family-driven experiment built by musicians and ad creatives who just wanted to make something that worked. Having their own children sing on the tracks made the whole thing feel homemade, and that authenticity became part of Schoolhouse Rock's charm.
Lions and tigers, cats and dogs, a goat and a cow and a...
The approach mirrored the show's mission. Education brought right into the living room by parents who believed kids could learn and groove at the same time.
And I can't remember how many more,
But we multiplied them all by four.
While Bob Dorough was teaching America to count and rhyme, his daughter and her friends were literally in the background, helping a generation find its voice. Number 8. The magic number went hip-hop. If you grew up with Schoolhouse Rock and came of age with MTV, this one's going to blow your mind a little bit because your Saturday morning math lesson turned into a hip-hop classic. In 1989, the group De La Soul released their debut album 3 Feet High and Rising and sampled Bob Dorough's 1973 tune 3 is a Magic Number. They didn't just borrow a melody, they made it the soul of their breakout single The Magic Number.
3, that's a magic number. Yes, it is.
That familiar line, once used to help Gen X kids survive multiplication tables, became the hook for one of the most creative tracks in alternative hip-hop. De La Soul flipped the meaning. 3 wasn't about arithmetic anymore, it was about them. They were a trio preaching peace, positivity, and what they called the Daisy Age.
Somewhere in this hip-hop soul community was born 3 laced up in me, and that's a magic number.
The track layered in everything from Double D and Stensky's Lesson 3 to a Led Zeppelin drum break, creating a sound collage that was playful, smart, and just weird enough to make parents nervous. Unlike other samples from the album, this one never caused legal trouble, but other clearance issues kept 3 Feet High and Rising stuck in legal limbo for decades, unavailable on streaming until 2023. That meant when Spider-Man No Way Home dropped in 2021 and played the magic number over the end credits, half the audience thought, cool song, while every Gen Xer whispered, wait, that's Schoolhouse Rock. The filmmakers even confirmed it wasn't just a coincidence. They used the song to celebrate the 3 Spider-Man, and Schoolhouse Rock's doodle-style animation was mimicked in the credits. From Saturday morning cartoons to hip-hop to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, 3 is a magic number proved Bob Dorough was right all along. 3 really was magic, and it still is. Alright, we're going to take a quick pause here because we want to make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and while you're at it, tell us your favorite Schoolhouse Rock song in the comments, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep rocking through the weirdest facts of the past. Now let's get back to the countdown with number 7. Interplanet Janet was the space-age superhero of Saturday mornings.
They say our solar system is centered round the sun.
Before Neil deGrasse Tyson explained black holes on social media, we had a different cosmic guide. A cartoon woman in a silver jumpsuit zooming through the solar system with jazz hands and a jetpack.
Interplanet Janet, she's a galaxy girl. The solar system is from a future world.
Interplanet Janet first aired on November 18, 1978 as part of Science Rock, the short-lived but beloved spin-off that swapped grammar and government for gravity and gas giants.
Travels like a rocket with her comet team, and there's never been a planet Janet hasn't seen.
Lynn Ahrens wrote and performed it, yes, the same future Tony winner who gave us the preamble, introducing a galaxy girl from a future world who rocketed across space teaching kids the order of the planets, and somehow she made it sound funky, baby.
She's been to the sun, it's a lot of fun. It's a hot spot, it's a gas.
Each verse gave a quick tour of the solar system. Saturn's rings, Venus's clouds, and Pluto's lonely spot, back when we still put some respect on Pluto's name.
And Pluto, little Pluto, is the farthest planet from our sun.
At the time, the song was scientifically solid, even though most of the outer worlds had barely been photographed. Ahrens and the animators were working with imagination more than data, which gave Science Rock its wonderfully optimistic charm.
Solar system is not alone in space.
For a generation of kids, Interplanet Janet was their first astronomy lesson. Teachers rolled it out on wheeled TVs and every kid in class hummed the tune while labeling diagrams. It was simple, fast, and surprisingly sticky, like learning orbital mechanics through disco. Then, 2006 happened. Pluto got downgraded to dwarf planet, which meant Janet's catchy 9 planets lyric suddenly became outdated. Later DVD releases quietly changed it to 8 planets, while some teachers just paused mid-song to explain what happened to poor Pluto. Janet did make a comeback in 2009's Solar Power to the People, proving she still had enough star power to headline another mission.
Janet!
There she goes. Interplanet Janet took a trip to the shore.
Decades later, Interplanet Janet remains a time capsule of 1970s optimism, back when space was the future and the universe still had 9 planets to sing about.
There's never been a planet Janet hasn't seen.
Number 6, I'm Just a Bill became a civic superstar.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, odds are your entire understanding of American democracy came from one very exhausted piece of paper sitting on the Capitol steps. I'm Just a Bill wasn't just a cartoon, it was Civics 101 set to a swing beat.
Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city.
Jazz pianist Dave Frischberg wrote it, and it debuted on March 27, 1976 as part of America Rock. The story was simple. A humble Bill explains his long bureaucratic journey to becoming a law. Committee hearings, congressional votes, presidential signatures. Somehow Frischberg made all of it catchy.
Long wait while I'm sitting in committee.
The voice of that rolled up piece of parchment was jazz trumpeter Jack Sheldon, whose gravelly drawl gave the bill his wary, worldwide charm. The kid asking all the questions, well, that was Sheldon's real-life son John. Father-son voice acting. How cool is that?
But I know I'll be a law someday, at least I hope and pray that I will.
Frischberg's melody was pure jazz meets jingle. It was bouncy, bittersweet, and absurdly sticky.
But today I am still just a bill.
Millions of kids learned how laws got made before they knew their state capitals. To this point, Congress had never been so singable. Of course, the lesson was a little optimistic. There were no filibusters, no lobbying, no gridlock, just a friendly paper scroll patiently waiting to be signed. Outlets like Politico and Vox tried to update it for modern times, but nothing stuck like the original.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far.
The song became iconic to the point that The Simpsons even parodied it, with Jack Sheldon voicing an amendment to be.
I'm not garbage. I'm an amendment to be. Yes, an amendment to be.
Saturday Night Live did a hilarious sketch on how a bill does not become a law.
But then I need from the Senate a majority. And if I pass the legislative test, then I wind up on the president's desk. And I say,
Family Guy and Robot Chicken took their shots at it too. And in 2018, the Library of Congress added the song to the National Recording Registry, basically saying it's important enough to preserve forever. Not bad for a cartoon about paperwork.
Signed you, Bill. Now you're a law.
oh yes.
Number 5, the preamble taught the Constitution better than school did.
In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree.
If you can still sing the opening of the US Constitution but you can't remember your Wi-Fi password, you have Schoolhouse Rock to thank for that.
The USA was just starting out, a whole brand new country.
The preamble first aired on November 1st, 1975 as part of America Rock, the show's bicentennial gift to America.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
While most kids were watching Scooby-Doo solve mysteries, Schoolhouse Rock was teaching them how a nation got built.
Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
Lynn Ahrens wrote and performed it, and she absolutely nailed it. This song was one of her first professional gigs, long before she'd win Tony Awards for Ragtime and Once on This Island and become a legend in musical theater.
Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare at hand.
The song set the preamble to music, turning We the People into a gentle folk-inspired sing-along. To fit the rhythm, Ahrens dropped just 4 words, of the United States, but otherwise it was shockingly accurate. The animation traced America's story from 1787 Philadelphia to the modern day, showing the founding fathers drafting the Constitution while kids watched it all unfold.
To ordain and establish this Constitution.
It worked better than anyone expected. Teachers started using it in civics classes. Students who couldn't sit still through a history lecture suddenly knew the preamble by heart. One teacher in the 80s joked that half her class hummed the melody during tests.
For the United States of America.
The New York Times praised America Rock in 1976 for turning the Constitution into a joyful musical experience. High praise for a Saturday morning cartoon. Decades later, the preamble remains one of the most beloved songs in the series. For millions of Gen Xers, this wasn't just a cartoon, it was how we learned what we the people actually meant.
For the United States of America.
Number 4. Nostalgic college students brought it back. When Schoolhouse Rock wrapped in 1985, it looked like the end, but the kids who grew up singing along to Conjunction Junction had other ideas. By the early 90s, those kids were in college and they still knew every word. Long before social media, Gen X fans started a grassroots petition campaign to bring the show back. Phone calls, letters, word of mouth, pure nostalgic power. ABC noticed, and in 1993, the classics returned to Saturday mornings and the response was instant. Old fans came back, new kids tuned in, and the network even produced fresh episodes. Bob Dorough and Jack Sheldon reunited for new grammar rock numbers like Busy Prepositions, while Lynn Ahrens wrote and sang The Tale of Mr. Morton.
These little words we call the busy P.
Preposition.
9 or 10 of them.
Then came Money Rock in 1994, which turned taxes, credit, and national debt into musical lessons like Taxman Max and Tyrannosaurus Debt. Somehow, they made economics funky.
There's something huge, red, white, and blue that's grazing in D.C. It's gobbling up the taxes that are paid by you and me.
The nostalgia wave spilled into other media. In 1995, a stage musical, Schoolhouse Rock Live, hit off-Broadway, and the 1996 tribute album Schoolhouse Rock Rocks featured Blind Melon, Better Than Ezra, and Biz Markie.
Energy. Sometimes I think I'm running out of energy.
In other words, the show that taught kids the preamble to the Constitution ended up teaching a generation how to launch a full-blown revival. Number 3, it got the biggest crowd in Kennedy Center history. Sort of. In January of 2013, Bob Dorough walked onto the Kennedy Center's Millennium stage to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Schoolhouse Rock. The room usually holds a few hundred people. Nearly 1,000 showed up. Fans packed the aisles, lined the stairways, and sang every lyric to Conjunction Junction.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function? Hooking up words.
Gen Xers brought their kids, jazz fans brought nostalgia, and for one night the show's music turned into a multi-generational sing-along. The crowd set an attendance record for that venue. Not the main concert hall, but the Millennium Stage Series. Still, it was historic, an educational cartoon for the 70s pulling a bigger audience than most modern jazz gigs. It wasn't just a concert, it was a reunion. Proof that the show didn't just teach a generation, it became part of their DNA. 4 decades later, the song still knew how to bring people together. Number 2, Conjunction Junction, the one everyone remembers.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function?
You're already singing it, aren't you? If there's one Schoolhouse Rock song that could make an entire generation start humming in unison, it's Conjunction Junction.
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Written by Bob Dorough and performed by jazz trumpeter Jack Sheldon, the segment first aired on November 17, 1973 as part of the Grammar Rock series. Its simple premise, teaching how conjunctions link words, phrases, and clauses, turned it into one of the most iconic and downright catchy lessons in TV history.
I got 3 favorite cars that get most of my job done.
The tune's magic comes from its railroad metaphor, a cheerful train yard where boxcars labeled and, but, and or hook up sentences just like rail cars on a track. It's a perfect visual, practical, memorable, and surprisingly funky.
I got and, but, and or, they'll get you pretty far.
Sheldon's gravelly, soulful voice sells the whole thing. He was no studio rookie. He was a jazz veteran and sidekick on The Merv Griffin Show, whose relaxed phrasing made grammar feel cool. Backing him were real jazz musicians, which explains why the song grooves like something you'd hear in a smoky club rather than a spelling bee.
And, that's an additive, like this and that. But
the lyrics themselves are a masterclass in teaching.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
That refrain didn't just explain the grammar, it burned it into every kid's memory.
Hooking up two boxcars and making them run right.
The song broke out of the classroom and into pop culture, showing up in Reality Bites in 1994, Glee, and even the U.S. Department of Education's Hold Music in 2010.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Ask anyone born between 1965 and 1985 what a conjunction does, and odds are they'll sing the answer. Decades later, Conjunction Junction still runs on time, proof that sometimes the best education starts with a hook, a groove, and one seriously cool conductor.
Conjunction, junction, watch that function.
Number 1. The creators made almost no money. For all the joy, learning, and lifelong nostalgia Schoolhouse Rock gave us, the people who actually created it, the musicians, writers, and animators, saw very little of the money it made. That's because Schoolhouse Rock was born inside an advertising agency of McCaffrey and McCall, which handled ABC's network account. The show wasn't an independent passion project, it was a work for hire. That meant everything, the songs, characters, and animation, legally belonged to the agency and eventually the network.
That's called interest. You're making money that way, and you can buy that gear about a year from today.
Jazz musician Bob Dorough, the creative heartbeat of the series, was reportedly paid per song, just like he would be for any other commercial gig. Even as the series became a cultural phenomenon, Dorough still had to perform in clubs and teach music to make a living. Fellow songwriter Lynn Ahrens also received only a modest fee for her contributions. When ABC took full control of the series, the creator's ownership vanished completely. Then, in 1996, when Disney acquired ABC, the entire Schoolhouse Rock library became Disney property, including every song, animation, and character. From that point on, all profits from home video sales, merchandise, and reruns went to the corporate parent, not the people who actually made it. Bob Dorough was philosophical about it. He continued to perform Schoolhouse Rock songs at jazz gigs well into his 80s, smiling as fans sang along to The 3 is the Magic Number or Conjunction Junction. The fame was genuine, but the fortune wasn't.
And phrases and clauses. Conjunction, junction.
In the end, they didn't make millions, but they taught billions. That's the kind of legacy you can't buy. And there you have it, 15 weird and wonderful facts about Schoolhouse Rock. Which fact surprised you the most, and which song still lives rent-free in your head? Sound off in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hype this video if you enjoyed it. And until next time, this is Remember When.